The afternoon heat was unforgiving as Monica Harris tied her 1-month-old twin daughters, Zuri and Nova, to her chest with a worn-out Ankara cloth. Their soft cries echoed the ache in her soul. Her stomach had been empty since the previous night, and her breast milk was drying up. She wiped sweat from her brow, the weight of exhaustion and fear pressing down on her. Her husband, Tyrone Harris, had left early in the morning without a word. She assumed he'd gone to search for work again, but he hadn't said where. Monica glanced at her fragile baby girls and whispered, "Mama's going to find something today, my angels." One name came to mind, Keisha Monroe, her best friend since high school. Keisha lived just a few blocks down in the same neighborhood of Southridge, a struggling but tight-knit community. Keisha had helped her before. Monica adjusted the wrap around her body and began the short walk, each step filled with both hope and fear. She knocked gently on Keisha's wooden door, praying for a small loan to buy formula or even a cup of rice. No one answered at first, but the door was ajar. With a hesitant push, Monica stepped inside. "Keisha?" she called out softly. Laughter floated down the hallway, from the bedroom. Her breath caught in her throat. That laugh, it was Tyrone's. She tiptoed forward, careful not to jostle her babies. The bedroom door was slightly open. She peeked in, and her heart broke. Tyrone sat half-naked on the bed, laughing as he clinked a bottle of malt drink with Keisha. Her best friend wore only a short Ankara wrap, exposing more than Monica ever wanted to see. Monica stood frozen. Tyrone looked up first, not with guilt, but with irritation. "Why you barge in like you lost your mind?" he barked. Keisha didn't even flinch. She scoffed. "Didn't your mama teach you how to knock?" The babies began to cry again, their hunger and discomfort growing. Monica clutched them tightly, her voice trembling. "So this is where you've been disappearing to? Tyrone, our daughters are starving. I came to Keisha to ask for help, and this is what I find?" Tyrone rolled his eyes. "Here we go again. Don't start with the drama." Her voice cracked. "They are just 1 month old. 1 month. And this is what you're doing to us?" He scoffed. "You think I'm stupid? You gave me 2 girls, not even 1 boy. And you expect me to stay?" Keisha smirked. "She should be lucky you stayed this long." Monica's lips trembled. "They are babies, Tyrone, and you're already blaming them for being born female?" Tyrone leaned back smugly. "And don't forget what the doctor said, your womb is done. No more kids, you're like a dry well. What's the use of that?" Keisha burst into laughter. "Ooh, you're wrong for that, Tyrone." He shrugged. "Just being real. I need a real woman, one that can give me sons." Tears streamed down Monica's face. "So that's all I am to you now? Not a woman?" Tyrone looked her up and down with disgust. "You always tired, always crying. Even that rag you wearing looked like it gave up on you. I married a wife, not a beggar." Monica turned to Keisha, pleading for some kind of human response. But Keisha just crossed her legs and took a sip of her drink. "Don't look at me like that. The heart wants what it wants." The twins cried louder. Monica backed away from the doorway, heart crushed beyond repair. "I didn't come here for love," she said, voice hollow. "I came to feed my children. But God is watching." Tyrone laughed. "Then tell him to send you some rice and beans." She said nothing more. Monica turned and walked out of the house, the cries of her daughters echoing with every step. The sun blazed above, but it was nothing compared to the fire consuming her chest. She walked and walked, numb, aimless, but sure of one thing: she was alone now, and 2 tiny souls depended on her. Back in her one-room shack, she sat on the dusty floor, looked around, and took in the broken fan, the leaking zinc roof, the empty stove. Yet something inside her shifted, something fierce. She wiped her tears, kissed both of her babies on the forehead, and whispered, "Your daddy may have turned his back on us. But I never will. I don't know how. I don't know when. But Zuri, Nova, I promise you this. I'll give you both a good life, even if I have to sell the roof over our heads." 5 years had passed. Monica sat on a cracked wooden bench outside, her weather-worn home in Southridge, watching Zuri and Nova chase each other barefoot around the dusty yard. Their giggles filled the air like music, and though Monica smiled, her heart carried a quiet weight. They were 5 now, tall for their age, smart, lively, and radiant. Monica had waited long enough. It was time to enroll them in school. She stepped back into the small one-room shack and gathered the girls' birth certificates and their best clothes, 2 modest Sunday dresses folded neatly in a plastic bag. She looked around the house one last time. The walls were cracked and the roof still leaked when it rained. But none of that mattered now. She had saved up a little money from washing laundry for neighbors, scrubbing floors and cleaning market stalls, but it wasn't enough. Not for books, uniforms, or fees. She needed help. There was one person she thought of, Mr. Leon Walker, an old family friend who used to call himself Tyrone's brother from another mother. He lived just a few streets over in a slightly bigger home. People said Leon had connections and ran with big men in town. With hope tightly gripped in her chest, Monica put on her cleanest head wrap, adjusted her faded Ankara skirt, and walked to Mr. Walker's house. The gate was open, so she stepped through and knocked on the front door. Leon answered with a wide, toothy grin. "Monica Harris," he said, slowly eyeing her from head to toe. "Lord have mercy. God really took his time with you." She forced a polite smile. "Good afternoon, sir." Come in, what brings the beautiful mother of twins to my humble palace?" he said as he led her inside. Monica entered. The house smelled of stale stew and dust, but the plastic chairs were arranged with care. She sat stiffly, her fingers locked tightly in her lap. "I came to ask a favor," she said gently. "Zuri and Nova are 5 now. I want to send them to school. I've been saving what I can, but it's not enough. I was hoping maybe you could help us out." Leon raised an eyebrow and chuckled. "You want to send girls to school?" Monica nodded proudly. "Yes, sir. They're very intelligent, bright." He leaned back and shook his head. "Monica, who trains girl children in this economy? You'll waste all your strength, and in the end they'll marry and toss the certificate in one corner." She blinked in disbelief. "Excuse me?" Leon leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "Let them learn how to braid or sew. That's what girls need. Cooking, cleaning, being good wives, not classrooms." Monica's lips tightened. "Your daughters may belong in kitchens, but mine, they belong in the world. In courtrooms, in boardrooms, anywhere they choose." Leon chuckled and leaned back. "Still stubborn, I see. Tyrone always said that about you. But that fire? I like it." He paused, eyeing her with a sly grin. "Let me help you, but not for free." Monica's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" He licked his lips and sat back, voice smooth like spoiled milk. "I want you, Monica. You're too fine to be suffering like this. Let me take care of you. I've got money, I've got reach. If you don't mind, you can even be my 5th wife." Monica stood instantly. "I beg your pardon?" Leon's grin widened. "Come on now, don't be shy. Tyrone never appreciated you, but I see your worth. Be my woman. I'll get the girls in the best school, clothes, food, comfort." Her nostrils flared. "You were my husband's closest friend." He shrugged. "That fool walked away from gold. I'd be glad to pick up where he left off." Monica's voice rose. "So you want to exploit me because I'm struggling? You think I'm desperate enough to sell myself for school fees?" Leon stood, still smiling smugly. "You'd be doing better than most. My 4 wives are fine with it. You'd be the youngest, the sweetest, the freshest. You'd be treated like a queen." She folded her arms. "Your 4 wives are bitter, broke, and loud. They fight like hens in the market, and you? You've been wearing the same crusty sandals for 3 months. Your palace smells like boiled socks and old beans." His face dropped. Monica stepped forward, rage steady in her voice. "You think because I'm a single mother I'll stoop this low? I'd rather my daughters walk barefoot to school than watch them see their mother trade dignity for survival." Leon hissed. "Suit yourself, stubborn woman." She grabbed her bag and stormed out. The walk home was long, but her steps were sharp, and her head was high. Her chest ached with anger, but her soul pulsed with pride. That night she held Zuri and Nova close. their tiny arms wrapped around her waist, their breaths soft and warm. "Mama will find a way," she whispered. "I swear on everything I won't give up." She didn't sleep. She watched the ceiling all night, her mind spinning through every memory, every sacrifice. Then, just before dawn, the decision came. It was time to let go of the only thing she still had, the house. Old, cracked, fading, but hers. Tomorrow, she would sell it, not for comfort, but for her daughter's future. The next morning, Monica stood silently as a pot-bellied man with a crooked smile circled her home. He wore a faded black cap and scribbled notes into a dirty, dog-eared notebook. He kicked at the loose floor tiles and grunted. "This place is old. Roof's bad. Walls are cracked. Toilet's barely standing. You're lucky it's in a good location. Only reason I'm even interested," he muttered. Monica said nothing. She had heard similar words before. Her little house had grown old and weary like the memories inside it. Her father had built it by hand before he passed. It was where she birthed Zuri and Nova, where she sat on the cold floor and cried through nights of hunger, where she kissed her babies and made them promises she didn't yet know how to keep. Letting go felt like tearing off a piece of herself. Still, she was ready. The buyer handed her a brown envelope. "Count it if you want." She didn't count. She only whispered, "Thank you." That day, Monica Harris became homeless, but not hopeless. She used part of the money to pay the girls' school fees. She bought uniforms, little pink school bags, second-hand black shoes, and stacks of textbooks that smelled of ink and dreams. She paid for their primary school up front and saved what little was left for food. There wasn't enough to rent another place, so she moved with Zuri and Nova into an unfinished, abandoned building behind the Southridge Market. The walls were made of bare cement blocks. There were no windows, no tiles, no doors. Just cracked concrete and broken bricks. They hung old curtains to separate one corner of the room into a bedroom. Monica used broken planks as chairs and flattened cardboard boxes for the floor. When it rained, they'd scatter around the room with pots and bowls to catch the water pouring from the roof. Still, Monica never complained, not once. She washed clothes, cleaned salons, mopped shop floors, hauled food at stalls, any job that paid a few bills. Some nights she came home drenched in sweat and rain with bruises on her hands or blisters on her heels. But every single night she made sure her daughters had something to eat, even if it was just soaked Gary and ground nuts. One evening, while she was squatting in front of the building, scrubbing a neighbor's clothes in a rusty basin, an elderly woman passed by with a basket of oranges on her head. She slowed and stared at the unfinished structure. "You live here?" she asked gently. Monica looked up, her hands still in soapy water. "Yes, ma'am, with my girls." The woman stepped closer. She wore a plain boo-boo gown and rubber slippers, her face kind but stern. "But this place is dangerous. What if that wall falls in your sleep?" Monica lowered her eyes. "It's all we have." The old woman turned to see the twins. Zuri and Nova sat near a broken window, their feet dusty, clothes faded but heads bowed over their books. Their little lips moved quietly as they read aloud to one another. Their eyes held light, hope, hunger for something greater. The old woman turned back to Monica and said something that made her knees tremble. "Come and stay in my house." Monica stared at her. "Ma? I live alone in a 3-bedroom house and it's too big for just me. I have water, a little garden, a kitchen. Stay as long as you need. Don't worry about money." Monica dropped the shirt in her hand and stood up slowly. "Ma, are you serious?" The woman nodded. "God touched my heart. I don't know why, but looking at you and your girls, I feel peace." Monica's eyes filled with tears. She dropped to her knees. "God bless you, Ma, 1,000 times over. May he never forget your kindness." From that day forward, Monica, Zuri, and Nova moved into the woman's compound. It was a modest house with clean floors, a small backyard with tomatoes and spinach growing, and a little tap outside. The woman, whom the girls affectionately began to call Granny Alma, treated them like her own. She gave them one of the rooms, cooked with them, prayed with them, and stood behind them every step of the way. Years passed. Zuri and Nova grew into brilliant, beautiful young women. They excelled in every subject, won spelling bees, aced their exams. Zuri dreamed of becoming a civil rights lawyer, and Nova said she'd become one too, just so they could change lives together. The house was always full of energy, books on the floor, soft laughter in the hallways, late-night reading under the glow of a rechargeable lamp, and then, like a blink, 2 decades passed. Monica now had gray hair mixed into her braids, faint lines around her eyes, but those eyes sparkled with pride. On the day Zuri and Nova graduated from university, they walked across the stage in black gowns and golden cords. The hall thundered with applause as both names were called. Zuri Harris, Nova Harris, top of their class, Department of Law, twin sisters, black excellence. After the ceremony, they ran home, still in their gowns, their faces glowing with joy. Monica stood outside the house, already crying. "Mama!" Zuri shouted, falling to her knees in front of her. "We did it," Nova said, hugging her from the side. Monica held their faces in her trembling hands. "You made me the proudest mother in the world." But one person was missing, the woman who changed everything. Granny Alma had passed 1 year earlier. "She should have seen this," Zuri whispered, tears in her eyes. "She would have been so proud," Nova added. Monica nodded, her voice soft. "She didn't just give us shelter. She gave us family." That night, they lit a candle and placed it beside her favorite hibiscus plant in the garden. They held hands and prayed for Granny Alma, for the life she gave them, for the man who abandoned them, and for every single mother still struggling to rise. It was a Saturday to remember. Zuri and Nova were home again, their black graduation gowns neatly folded, their framed certificates leaning against the wall. The house was quiet, calm. Monica had made okra soup and brown rice, a small celebration of sacrifice turned into victory. They had laughed, danced, and eaten until their bellies ached. But as the evening wore on, a heaviness filled the room like fog. A question hung silently in the air, one neither sister had dared ask in years. Now they were ready. Zuri looked at Nova, who gave a small nod. Zuri took a breath. "Mom?" Monica looked up from the corner of the room where she was folding clothes. "Yes, baby?" Nova stepped closer. "We want to ask you something. Please, don't be upset." Monica paused. Her hands froze mid-fold. Her back straightened ever so slightly. "What is it?" she asked, though a part of her already knew. Zuri lowered her voice. "We want to know about our father." Monica's eyes darkened instantly. Her breath hitched. She stood up slowly. "No," the girls looked at one another, confused. "No," she repeated, her voice low, firm. "Don't take me back there, please." "But Mom," Nova started. "I said no." Monica's voice cracked slightly, a tremor rising in her chest. The girls fell silent. For a while, the only sound was the ticking of the clock. Nova reached out and gently touched her mother's hand. "Mom, we don't want to hurt you. We just want to understand where we come from." Monica sat down slowly. Her eyes brimmed with tears. "Why now?" she whispered. "Why now, after all these years, do you want to open the wound I've tried so hard to close?" Zuri knelt beside her. "Because we've always wondered. But we're not little girls anymore. We're grown women. We're ready to hear it now." Monica looked at them, her daughters, no longer children but reflections of her strength. She took a deep breath. After a long pause, she began to speak. "You were barely 1 month old," she said, her voice quiet, like wind through leaves. "There was no food in the house. I hadn't eaten all day. I was weak, but I was more worried about you two. You were crying, hungry. I had nothing." She stared off into the distance, eyes glazed with memory. "I decided to go to someone I trusted. My best friend, Keisha. We had been sisters in all but blood since high school. I thought she would help. She swallowed hard. I got to her house and knocked. No answer. The door was slightly open, so I stepped in. Monica blinked. I called her name. Then I heard laughter from the bedroom. The girls leaned in, silent, hanging on her every word. When I got closer, I found your father, Tyrone, with Keisha. Zuri's eyes widened. Nova's jaw dropped. Monica nodded slowly. They were lying in bed, laughing like I didn't exist, drinking malt, eating meat, as if I wasn't outside starving, as if I wasn't his wife, as if you two weren't in my arms crying from hunger. Her voice cracked. I was weak, holding you both. But he looked me in the eye and told me things I will never forget. Zuri's lips trembled. What did he say? Monica's voice hardened. He said he didn't want girls, that I had failed him, that I couldn't give him more children because of my health. He called me a waste, a dry well, a beggar. Tears streamed down her face. And Keisha, my best friend, she joined him, mocked me, laughed like I was a joke. Nova was shaking. How could he say that? I begged him, Monica whispered. Not for myself, but for you. I told him you were just 1 month old, that you were hungry. But he didn't care. He walked out of the room, out of the house, and out of our lives. Zuri's eyes filled with tears. Mom, I never told you because the pain never left. I carried it every day. But I carried it with pride. Because I chose to raise you without bitterness. I didn't want his name to poison your growth. Nova leaned in and held her tightly. You didn't deserve that, Mama. Zuri joined them, wrapping her arms around both. We're so sorry you went through that. Monica wiped her tears. I didn't want to tell you. Not because I don't trust you, but because that part of my life still burns. But now we know, Nova said, her voice firm. And we'll never forget what you did for us. Zuri looked her in the eyes. And we'll never forgive him. They sat together, 3 women, 1 legacy, 1 mother, 2 daughters. Pain united them, but love kept them whole. Somewhere far from Southridge, in a worn-down apartment, Tyrone Harris sat in silence. The air smelled of sweat and old cigarettes. His back ached from a day spent running errands for younger men. His beard was patchy, his eyes dim. He had heard it that morning at the barber shop. You hear about Monica's girls? Zuri and Nova? They graduated top of their class. Law firms snapped them up like hot bread. Their mother carried that whole family. Tyrone? That man was a fool. He had pretended not to hear, but the words echoed, louder than the clippers buzzing beside him. His daughters, lawyers. He felt shame rise in his chest like boiling oil. He couldn't stop it. Just then, the front door slammed. Keisha, the woman he left Monica for, strolled in, tossing her wig on the couch. She reeked of cheap perfume and attitude. You still sitting here like a statue? She snapped. The dish is still dirty. The floor's a mess. You waiting for me to serve you too? Tyrone didn't respond. Keisha kept ranting. You're useless. No job. No future. I should have let one of my clients take you in trade. He stood slowly, eyes bloodshot. Do you know what you did to my life? Keisha froze. What? You ruined it. You made me leave my wife, my children, my home. For this? He waved around the filthy apartment. Keisha folded her arms. Don't blame me. You made that choice all by yourself. You're shameless, he barked. No kids, no love. You bring old men here every weekend. You sell yourself like candy. She shrugged. And they pay for the taste. What do you bring, huh? Misery and dust? He pointed a finger. You're a curse. I left a queen for a demon. Keisha laughed. Then go back to your queen if she'll have your sorry self. Wish I could, Tyrone said quietly. But I don't deserve to. Keisha walked into the bedroom and slammed the door. Tyrone stood alone in the silence, eyes wet with regret. I traded diamonds for dust, he whispered. 2 days passed. Tyrone, barely spoke. He stayed in the apartment like a shadow, silent, slouched, ashamed. On the third afternoon, Keisha returned home playing loud music on her phone. Her lipstick was smudged. Shopping bags swung from both arms as she dropped them on the table like trophies. "Tyrone," she called from the kitchen. He didn't answer. She walked back into the living room holding a glass of juice. "You owe me an apology." Tyrone looked up, confused. "Apologize? For what?" "For embarrassing me in front of Mr. Rowland," she snapped. "He's one of my top men, and you acted like a rabid dog in front of him. You made me look cheap." Tyrone stood slowly. "You are cheap," she scoffed. "You want to keep living? In my house, wearing slippers I bought? Eating my food? Then say sorry." He looked around the small, dirty room. His chest rose and fell. "I will not apologize." "Then carry your nonsense and leave," she said, waving him off. Tyrone picked up his torn duffel bag, slid on his worn-out sneakers, and walked to the door. "You'll regret this," Keisha screamed after him. He paused, turned slightly. "Regret? Already started the day I met you. You're old, broke, and bitter," she shouted. "And you," he said, "are loud, empty, and always alone." She flung a shoe, but he had already walked out, finally away from the storm he created. That night, Keisha dressed in her tightest red gown and laid out a special dinner. Fried rice, grilled chicken, and a chilled bottle of wine. Chief Rowland was coming, her favorite sugar daddy, wealthy, connected, dangerous. When he arrived, she greeted him with a kiss on the cheek. "Come inside, baby, your food is ready." He frowned as he stepped in. "You still live in this dump? I told you. I could get you a real place." Keisha laughed and poured him wine. "Then do it. All you do is talk." His smile faded. "What did you say?" "You heard me," she said, dropping a fork on the table. "Last month you promised a car, then new clothes. I got nothing. You want loyalty? Start delivering." Chief Rowland stood abruptly. "You mad? You talk to me like I'm some street boy?" Keisha rolled her eyes. "Then leave, no one's begging you." He slapped her, hard. Keisha stumbled back, holding her cheek. "Don't you ever—" He grabbed her arm and shoved her. She hit the edge of the table with a sickening crack. Silence. She didn't move. "Keisha," he whispered. No answer. He crouched, touched her face, checked her wrist. No pulse, no breath. She was gone. Panic gripped him. He looked around the room. Then, instead of calling an ambulance or helping, he pulled out his phone and dialed the police. "Hello, officer?" "Yes. It's urgent. I just came to visit someone. Keisha Monroe. I found her dead in her house. I didn't touch anything. But I know someone who might have done it. Her ex-husband, Tyrone Harris. He threatened her before." He hung up, grabbed his keys, and vanished into the night. Hours later, Tyrone sat on a friend's couch reading a battered newspaper. The room was hot, dimly lit. He had nowhere else to go, but at least it was quiet. Suddenly, the door burst open. 2 police officers stormed in with guns raised. "Tyrone Harris, you're under arrest for the murder of Keisha Monroe." "What?" Tyrone jumped to his feet. "I haven't seen her in days." They didn't listen. They grabbed him, handcuffed him, and dragged him outside. Neighbors stared in shock. Tyrone's friend Marcus ran after them. "He didn't do anything. You've got the wrong man." But it was too late. At the police station, Tyrone begged them to listen. "I'm innocent. I wasn't even near her. House!" But the file had already been written. Chief Rowland had bribed the right officers. The story had been typed. Witnesses ignored. Report finalized. Tyrone Harris was the killer. The trial was a farce. Tyrone barely spoke before the judge. His court-appointed lawyer yawned through most of it. No evidence, no fingerprints, no witnesses. Just an accusation and a bribe. The judge delivered the sentence like a death note. "Tyrone Harris, you are hereby sentenced to death by hanging. Execution in 60 days. Tyrone collapsed to his knees in the courtroom. "I didn't kill her," he cried. "I didn't." But no one listened. Back in prison, Tyrone sat in silence. The cell was cold. The food was worse. No visitors came, no money, no voice to fight for him. Only memories and regret. Days passed like years. Then one afternoon, Marcus appeared behind the bars of the visitation window. Tyrone jumped up. "Marcus, please, I don't want to die like this. I didn't kill her. You know I didn't. Please go to Monica. Go to my daughters. Tell them everything. Beg them. I can't leave this world without their forgiveness." Marcus's eyes filled with tears. "I believe you, man. I do. But you know how the system works. Chief Rowland paid them all off. I don't have money for lawyers or judges." Tyrone grabbed the bars. "Then just tell them. Tell them I'm sorry. I was blind. I left gold for garbage. I hurt them. I know that. But I need them to know I'm sorry. Before I die." Marcus wiped his eyes. "I told you, Tyrone. I told you that day not to leave your family." Tyrone nodded. "And I didn't listen. And now..." His voice broke. "Please. I don't want to die with this weight on my heart. Tell them. Please." Marcus nodded slowly. He had made a promise. Now, he would try to keep it. The sun was high over the city when Marcus Evans stood outside the towering glass office building, gripping his weathered cap in both hands. The name etched in gold on the front glass read, "Harris and Harris Law Group." He took a shaky breath. The last time he had walked into a place like this, he had been a delivery driver dropping off court filings. Today, he carried something heavier, a dying man's last hope. He approached the polished front desk where a receptionist with deep brown skin and tight curls greeted him. "Good afternoon, sir. How may I help you?" "Good afternoon," Marcus said, adjusting his voice. "I'm looking for one of your lawyers. Her name is Zuri. Please, it's important." "Do you have an appointment?" "No, ma'am. But it's urgent." She hesitated, then picked up the phone. "Miss Zuri, someone is here asking to see you. He says it's important." A pause. Then she nodded and pointed to the elevator. "Second floor. Office 204. "Thank you," Marcus whispered, and walked to the elevator with a prayer in his heart. When he stepped into the sleek office, Zuri Harris sat behind her desk, in a tailored navy blue suit. She didn't smile. "Yes? How may I help you?" she asked, professional and poised. Marcus stood at the door, his hands trembling. "I'm sorry for intruding. My name is Marcus Evans. I'm a friend of your father." Her eyes changed. She leaned back in her chair. "And I came to talk to you about him." Zuri's jaw tightened. "Why would I need to talk about a man who walked out on me and my sister when we were babies? Who abandoned our mother? Who never sent a dime, never even asked if we were alive?" Marcus nodded slowly. "You're right. You have every reason to be angry. And I know I don't have the right to ask anything, but your father, Tyrone, is in prison." Zuri didn't flinch. "He's been sentenced to death for a crime he didn't commit." Still, her face remained unreadable. "Someone else killed Keisha Monroe, your father's ex, but he's the one paying for it. He's been framed by someone powerful, and he asked me, begged me, to come to you and Nova. Not to save him, just to tell you." Marcus's voice cracked. "He's sorry. He said he can't leave this world without your forgiveness." Zuri stood up and turned toward the window. Her back was to him. Marcus waited. Finally, she spoke. "Forgiveness?" He nodded. "Yes." She stayed silent for a long moment. "That man left my mother bleeding, starving, crying on cold nights. He looked her in the eye and told her she was worthless. He left us for a woman who mocked us. And now he wants peace?" Marcus stepped closer quietly. "He's broken now, lost, full of regret. He cries every night. I've never seen a man carry that kind of shame." She turned around. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were glassy. "My mother sacrificed everything for us. We never had shoes. We studied by candlelight. We lived in an abandoned building. She gave up everything. And he never came back. Never once. I know, Marcus said. I'm not here to justify him. What he did was wrong. Unforgivable even. But he knows that. Now, and he's not asking for a second chance. Just to die with some peace. She looked at him for a long moment, then finally said, "Come back in 2 weeks." Marcus's eyes widened. "You'll think about it?" "I'll talk to Nova and our mother. That's all I can promise." He nodded. "Thank you, that's more than enough." As he turned to leave, Zuri added softly, "Tell him nothing is promised." "I will," Marcus said, hand on the door. "But thank you for not throwing me out." Zuri didn't respond. She just looked down at her desk, her hands shaking slightly. As Marcus stepped outside into the sunlight, he whispered to himself, "Lord, please touch their hearts." The house was quiet when Zuri and Nova sat with their mother in the living room. The lamp on the side table flickered softly, casting a warm glow across Monica's tired but graceful face. She sat in a plastic chair, her reading glasses resting in her lap, eyes low. She already sensed what was coming. Zuri cleared her throat gently. "Mom." Monica didn't look up. "It's about your father." Nova stepped forward. "Please, Mama, just hear us out." Monica rose from her seat so quickly it startled them. "Don't call him that," she snapped. "He lost the right to be called that a long time ago." Zuri took a breath. "Mama, please, just listen." "There is nothing to listen to," Monica said, voice breaking but firm. "That man hurt me in ways I've never spoken of. He left me broken, with nothing, carrying 2 babies and bleeding shame. Now you want to bring his name into this house?" "He's in prison now," Nova said softly. "He's been sentenced to death." Monica paused. She turned slowly, her lips trembling. "What?" "He was framed," Zuri said. "It wasn't him. One of Keisha's sugar daddies did it. Chief Roland. But now Daddy's paying for it." "I don't care," Monica said sharply, turning away. Zuri stepped forward. "Mama, he's got no one. No help, no lawyer. He doesn't want saving, just forgiveness." Monica's voice trembled with rage. "Forgiveness? For walking away when I had nothing? For abandoning his daughters when they were crying from hunger?" She began pacing the room. "For years I worked myself raw. My hands bled. My feet blistered. I begged strangers for help while carrying you both on my back. Where was he when I was sleeping on wet floors? Where was he when you were studying under torn lampshades and empty stomachs?" She stopped walking and looked at them, her voice cracking. "He left us for a woman who called me garbage. He laughed at my pain. And now you ask me to forget that? To forgive?" Nova's voice broke. "We're not asking you to forget. We're just asking you to let go so you don't carry it anymore." Monica's hands shook. "I carried pain like armor, but I wore it with pride. I never let it poison me. I raised you two with everything I had. That's why you're standing tall now. I didn't do it for him." "We know, Mama," Zuri whispered. "And we love you for it." Nova knelt down in front of her. "He's not asking for a second chance. He knows he's broken. But he doesn't want to die with the weight of his sins." Monica looked at them both, her eyes glassy. "We're not doing this for him," Nova continued. "We're doing it for you, so your heart can finally rest." Zuri nodded. "Letting go isn't weakness, Mama. It's freedom." Monica stood, there the silence growing heavy. Her breath slowed. The fight in her eyes softened. Finally, she whispered, "Fine." The sisters looked at her, stunned. Monica closed her eyes. "We will go. I forgive him." Zuri and Nova rushed forward, wrapping their arms around her. All 3 of them cried, holding each other tightly, not because the pain had disappeared, but because they were choosing to no longer be ruled by it. The next morning, they arrived at Riverwood Correctional Facility, where Tyrone Harris sat inside a cold, gray cell. His eyes were dull, his back hunched. He had stopped counting the days. He didn't care anymore. When the guards called his name, he didn't move at first. But then he looked up and saw them. Monica, Zuri, Nova. He stood up as if rising from the grave. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Tears flooded his eyes. Monica stood tall behind the visitation glass, her arms folded. Tyrone dropped to his knees. I never thought you'd come. She didn't say anything right away. Her eyes studied him. Older, thinner, broken. Finally, she stepped aside and gestured toward the two young women beside her. Look at them, she said, her voice calm but heavy. Your daughters. Tyrone raised his head. His lips quivered. These are... Yes, Monica said. These are the same babies you left behind, the same girls you said weren't worth staying for, the ones you gave up on. I raised them. I made a promise and I kept it. He sobbed, his head buried in his hands. God forgive me. I don't deserve to see them. Zuri and Nova stood still. It was the first time they had seen their father face to face. Zuri took a step forward. We heard what happened. Tyrone didn't lift his head. I didn't kill her, but maybe I deserve the pain. Maybe this is my punishment. Monica's voice didn't tremble. It carried. You don't get to decide your punishment, Tyrone. You made your choices. But today, we made ours. He looked up slowly. I forgive you, Monica said, not because it's easy, not because you deserve it, but because I refuse to carry your mistake any longer. Zuri and Nova stepped closer to the glass. We forgive you too, Nova said. Not for what you did, but so we can be free. Tyrone cried like a child. I thought I'd die with this shame in my chest, but now I can breathe. No, Father, Zuri said. You're not going to die. Not like this. He looked at them confused. We're lawyers now, Nova added, and we're going to fight for you. He covered his face, overwhelmed. You would still fight for me? He whispered. Yes, Monica said softly. Because no one deserves to die for a crime they didn't commit. And because our daughters believe in justice, Tyrone sobbed. For the first time in years, he felt the warmth of love. Not because he had earned it, but because they had chosen to give it. The air outside. The prison felt heavier than usual, but Zuri and Nova Harris didn't let it weigh them down. As they stepped back into their car, their hearts were still pounding from the emotional prison reunion with their father. No more hesitation. It was time to act. They didn't go home. They went straight to their law firm. By nightfall, their office. Lights were still on. The sisters sat surrounded by piles of paper, court transcripts, and yellow highlighted pages. They didn't cry. They didn't rest. They prepared. We need every record from the original trial, Zuri said, flipping through a dusty folder. Police reports, forensics, autopsy, all of it. Nova pulled up the file on her laptop. Look at this, she said, pointing. No fingerprint analysis, no photos from the scene, no DNA testing. They rushed it, Zuri said, eyes narrowing. They were never looking for truth, just a scapegoat. Exactly, Nova agreed. No witnesses called, no statements taken. They just wrote what Chief Rowland told them to write. Zuri leaned back. He paid them. That's the only way this makes sense. Nova's voice sharpened. Then let's find someone who didn't have a price tag. They decided to go back to the very neighborhood where Keisha Monroe had lived, the house where she was killed, the street where lies began. They walked door to door, asking questions. Faces peeked through old curtains. Some neighbors whispered, others turned away. But finally, an elderly woman leaned over her balcony and said, Check with Mr. Phillips. He lives 3 houses down. He's a retired teacher. Quiet man. Has a camera pointed at the street. He never removes it. That was the lead they needed. Zuri and Nova rushed to Mr. Phillips's bungalow and knocked. He opened the door slowly. Gray hair, wise eyes, and a soft smile. Good evening, sir, Zuri said respectfully. We're attorneys. We're working on a case involving Keisha Monroe's death. We were told you might have a camera that captured the street that day. Mr. Phillips blinked, then nodded. Yes, I do. I don't check it often, but it's always recording. You can take a look. He led them inside where a small, outdated monitor flickered in the corner of his living room. He handed them a flash drive and said, "Everything from that week should be on here." Back at the office, they inserted the drive and began reviewing the footage. Hours passed. Then, there it was, Chief Rowland. Dressed in a cream-colored agbada, gold chain swinging across his chest, entered Keisha's house in the early afternoon. Alone. He stayed for almost 2 hours. Then he came out, panicked, looking over his shoulder, darting eyes, fumbling with his car keys. Nova froze the frame. "There," she whispered. "That's the moment." Zuri stared at the image. He left alone. Tyrone wasn't anywhere near. They copied the footage and backed it up. Twice. Then again. The next morning, they took the evidence to the police. The officer on duty stared at the screen, then at the sisters. "Where did you get this?" "It doesn't matter," Zuri said, firmly. "It's admissible. This is your proof." The story spread like wildfire. News stations, online blogs, social media. New evidence exposes framed man in Monroe murder. Twin lawyers uncover shocking truth behind wrongful death sentence. Chief Rowland under investigation after bombshell footage leaks. The pressure was too loud for the authorities to ignore. Within 48 hours, Chief Rowland was arrested. In court, the footage was shown on a projector screen. Journalists packed the room. Zuri and Nova sat side by side at the front, calm, focused, ready. Chief Rowland stood in a gray suit, sweating bullets. His lawyer stammered and offered no defense. The evidence was too clear. The judge looked from the screen to Rowland, then to the courtroom. "You committed a crime," he said coldly, then tried to bury an innocent man under it. "You manipulated. Justice destroyed lives and showed no remorse." He slammed his gavel. "Chief Rowland, for the murder of Keisha Monroe and for framing Tyrone Harris, you are hereby sentenced to life imprisonment without parole." The courtroom erupted in a wave of quiet gasps and sighs of relief. Moments later, the judge turned toward Tyrone's legal file. "Tyrone Harris," he said, "you have been declared innocent. All charges are dropped. You are free to go." Next morning, the gates of Riverwood Correctional opened wide. Tyrone stepped out into the sunlight wearing a second-hand button-up shirt and rubber sandals. There they were, Monica, Zuri, Nova, waiting for him. He dropped to his knees. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself." Monica walked forward and helped him to his feet. "Let's go home," she said. For the first time in over 2 decades, Tyrone Harris walked not as a prisoner, not as a broken man, but as a father granted a second chance. The ride home was quiet. Tyrone sat in the back seat staring out the window, the passing streets blurring into one. He clutched the folded court papers in his hands, the same hands that had once let go of everything that mattered. Now they trembled, not with shame, but with something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. When they arrived at Monica's house, the same home Granny Alma had once opened with grace, he hesitated at the gate. Monica opened the door. "You coming in, or you want us to carry you like a baby?" she said with a gentle smirk. Tyrone chuckled under his breath. I never thought I'd see this place again." Zuri stepped beside him. "It's not the same place you left, and we're not the same people," Nova added. "But if you're ready to do right, then you're welcome." He nodded and stepped forward. Inside, the walls were filled with framed memories, school awards, graduation photos, a picture of Granny Alma smiling in her garden. Zuri and Nova's law firm logo was mounted proudly near the kitchen doorway. Walked past all of it slowly, like a man exploring a museum of the life he could have had. They ate a quiet dinner of jollof rice and baked plantains. Tyrone kept glancing up, watching his daughters laugh at inside jokes, watching Monica wipe the table with her usual firm grace. He cleared his throat. "I know this can't be fixed in a day," he said, voice trembling. "But thank you for letting me back through that door. I promise I won't ever make you regret it. Monica looked at him, her eyes softer than before. That door doesn't stay open forever, Tyrone, but you have daughters now who know how to defend truth. Don't give them a reason to close it again. Zuri raised her glass. To new beginnings. Nova clinked hers beside it. And to second chances. Earned, not given. They all toasted. For the first time in decades, Tyrone didn't feel like a ghost in someone else's story. He was part of the table again. That night, as the stars scattered over the South Ridge skyline, Monica stepped outside into the garden where Granny Alma's favorite hibiscus still bloomed. She lit a small candle and whispered a prayer. For the woman who gave us shelter. For the man who lost his way. For the daughters who found the truth. And for every mother who never gives up. Zuri and Nova stood behind her. They didn't speak. They just joined her, 3 women in silent reverence for all they had survived and all they had reclaimed. Meanwhile, across town, Chief Roland sat alone in a prison cell, the same type of cell he had once tried to condemn Tyrone to. No money, no connections, no escape. A once feared man now forgotten. In the months that followed, Zuri and Nova took on more wrongful conviction cases, specializing in defending those abandoned by the system, especially black men who had no one to fight for them. Their firm grew, their reputation soared. They were called the Daughters of Justice in the local papers. Tyrone started volunteering at a community center for at-risk youth. He told his story, not with shame, but with raw honesty. Boys listened, some cried, many changed. Monica started a food outreach program with the church named in honor of Granny Alma. One evening, at a city event, Zuri stood on stage, giving a speech to hundreds of young law students. Cameras flashed, applause roared. Tyrone sat in the front row, tears in his eyes, watching the legacy he once abandoned bloom into something beautiful. And as Zuri closed her speech, she said, "This isn't just about justice, it's about healing. It's about standing in the gaps our parents left behind and building bridges with the bricks they threw at us."